In the title of this video, I said, I don't know, 5 or 10K versus 50 to 100K, or whatever I said. But those are just arbitrary numbers. My point is basically that here's low level person and here's a high level person. And there's a difference between the way that the low level person and the high level people operate. Whether low level is 5 or 10K and high level is 50 to 100 to 10 million, it doesn't matter. Low level versus high level is the only thing I want you to take away from this. So yeah, before I reveal what the mindset shift is, I want to give you some more context on this entire video. You see, when you first start your business, your number one goal is survival. As a freelancer, that means getting your first client. As an ecom brand owner or dropshipper, or like a software CEO, SaaS CEO, that means acquiring your first customer at profit or breaking even. Without the ability to acquire customers at profit or break even, you don't have money coming into the bank account. And without money coming in, you don't have a business. That's why acquiring customers is the key to survival when you first start your business, and it's where most, if not all, of your business focus should be. Now, normally what I'd call this is kind of like the front end of your business. Imagine like a restaurant, you've got the back end, the kitchen, you've got the front end, is where you serve your customers. So if you're focusing on that front end, the bit that's focused around the customer, it means you're scaling the front end and acquiring customers. And in the beginning, like I said, that is key to survival. When I first started, that's what I did, and that's how I survived. I cold called business owners and I cold emailed them, and I just aggressively scaled my front end through sales and marketing every single day. Honestly, it was tiring, but what else can you do? You have to get those customers in. And then finally, I got a pool of clients who were making me a steady income, and I was able to focus on them. I started charging retainers, and eventually my pool of income started growing. But what a lot of people don't focus on is the back end. And by back end, I mean the back end of your business. I'm talking about the kitchen of the restaurant. See, the front end is where you acquire the customers, but the back end is where the customers end up. But yeah, anyway, some people also call this back end like the bottom of the funnel, which brings me to my main point. The big difference between low-level business owners that fizzle out after a few years and have to go and move back in with their parents or start working a normal job, and smart CEOs who build huge companies, is that low-level operators focus only on the front end and they stay in that survival mindset, whereas high-level CEOs focus most of their efforts on the back end. That's the difference. And I call it the back to front mindset for building businesses. And in this video, I'm going to explain exactly how you can implement it, examples of the biggest companies in the world who operate with the same back to front mindset, and how to use it to make an instant ROI. But just before I do that, you need to understand the big problem that's going on right now in this online business space. It's a story as old as time. Let's say a guy starts his first marketing agency and he focuses, like I said just now, the most important thing to focus on is survival. So what does he do to survive? He tries to get his first client. He focuses all of his efforts every single day on acquiring his first client. And if you do that for long enough, like his basic universal law, if you message 100 people a day or cold call 100 people a day, 30 days straight, you're going to sign somebody. It might not be the best client, but you're going to get something. No matter how bad you are at sales, you're going to close somebody if you keep the work consistently. So this guy, he puts all of his effort into signing his first few clients. And what do you know? He does it. He signs 3 clients, he's making money, he's surviving. But that's where the problems start. He signs that client, they pay him 5K. Everyone knows that the first time you get paid online or the first time you get paid from your own business, that dopamine is crazy. It's the best feeling in the world. You just figured out that what you're doing works. It's beautiful. It's like a type of euphoria that you'll never ever experience again. And this guy, he gets addicted to that high. And why wouldn't he get addicted to that? Because he knows sales equals money. So what he does is he starts focusing even more on front end acquisition and just trying to acquire more and more clients. But every time he signs a client or closes a deal, money goes to his bank account. And when money goes to his bank account, his dopamine receptors start firing straight away. He thinks, oh, okay, I've now got 10K a month, 2K more, and I can finally buy my Rolex Datejust. As I was recording this, I forgot to remind, so just put it on quickly. But anyways, back to the point. That's just how he thinks because he's low level. He gets money and he wants to spend it on something straight away. So he just keeps focusing on getting new clients, new customers, and that's his main focus. He never stops. And the reason for that is because, first of all, he's low level. And second of all, he's still operating with that survival mindset. And that's all beginners have. So what happens to this guy? Well, after 2 or 3 months, his clients start to churn. They start to, end the contract, stop working with him. He gets a message, hey, we found another agency, or we found someone else who can do a better job than you. Maybe they're cheaper. We're not working with you anymore. And when he sees this start happening, his cortisol goes crazy. Like he's getting super stressed out, and all he knows is acquiring clients. That's all he does. So what does he do to make up for the clients who leave? He focuses even harder on the front end and starts acquiring more and more clients to make up for the customers who are leaving. But what he doesn't realize is that the reason the customers are leaving in the first place is because he put all of his focus into acquiring customers rather than taking care of and nurturing customers who already exist. So he ends up in this sort of churn and burn merry-go-round, running a super stressful business that constantly feels like it's about to fall apart. All of his processes are super delicate because, if he doesn't hit his quota of signing X amount of clients, then he lost X amount of money last month. So his business just falls apart. Believe it or not, 99% of online businesses are operating this way. And if you're a brand owner and you work with a very big agency, I guarantee you they're operating in the way that I've just described. It's this churn and burn model that all of these internet gurus are trying to sell to kids. And while it might work to pay the bills in the short term, it will never work long term. And that's why most people who start their first online business stay in that business for 2 or 3 years max before they pivot to something else. You know what? Let me prove it to you, yeah? I can guarantee that you can think of at least one person who started out in this online space with a business, and then a year or two later, they're focusing on something completely new. A year later, they're selling a course on this, and now they're swapping to this. And that's because they're focused on the front end. All they care about is survival. All they care about is selling something to prove to themselves that they have a business that's worth running. Now, believe it or not, when I first started my business, that's exactly what I was doing. I was doing the same thing as everyone else. I was kind of close to operating a churn and burn business because I was burning through clients like they were growing on trees. I was constantly stressing over my business, and I was signing anyone I could because I needed clients. So I would ignore the red flags on sales calls just to get a client and just to get that deposit in my bank account. But to be honest, I didn't want to run my business like that. It was stressful and it was unfulfilling. And I knew that at some point I was doomed to fail. So I did what any young guy would do, and I started reading. And the thing is, for me, when I have an issue in life or in business, I'll find a specific book on that one thing and read it like 3 or 4 times. Literally look at the amount of books that I've got. So anyways, I started reading and I came across this quote from a guy called Dan Kennedy. And if you don't know who Dan Kennedy is, then I suggest you do some research at some point, because he was or is one of the greatest copywriters that I've ever seen. Anyway, I was reading his stuff, and that's where I discovered this back to front mindset of building businesses. And what he said was, you make money on the front end, but you build wealth on the back end. And the first time I heard that, I didn't really understand it. So I'm going to repeat it for you. You make the money on the front end, but you build wealth on the back end. I want you to stop and think about it for a second. Making money and building wealth are 2 very different things. Most people in that survival mindset or in survival state of mind are focused on making money, which is why they focus on the front end. Because every time they get a new customer, they get X amount of dollars into their bank account. And to them, that's all that matters. How much money is coming into their bank account? How many new customers are we acquiring? But what they don't realize is that in order to build real wealth and get really rich, your focus has to be on the back end, which is what are we doing with those customers once we have them? Let's look at McDonald's. To the average normal person, McDonald's is just a restaurant where you can buy like burgers and fries and shakes and all of those kind of things. But if you take a look at their inner workings of their business, it tells a whole different story. Most people think that McDonald's scaled through just franchising, but that's not the case. See, McDonald's makes money on the front end by franchising and selling burgers, but they build real wealth by buying land and leasing that back to the people who franchise their restaurants. And they lease it at an above market rate, so they're making even more money. You see, in reality, McDonald's is a real estate company, not a fast food restaurant. It's the same thing with insurance companies. They make money on the front end by charging you and I and our parents and everyone we know a couple $1,000s for health insurance. But they build wealth on the back end by taking our money and giving it to the best traders and stockbrokers and analysts in the world, and putting our money on the stock market and trading it and building their own portfolio. That's why insurance companies make billions and billions of dollars. And look, it's the exact same thing for so many of these companies. They make money on the front end by acquiring customers through cold traffic at break even or maybe even profit. Or if they're ballsy enough, they'll even acquire customers at a loss, because they build wealth on the back end by turning those customers into repeat buyers through email marketing, upsells, and a bunch of other formats that you can use on the back end. It's even what I do with my business. We make money on the front end by signing a customer, but we get rich and build wealth on the back end by crushing our deals and making sure every single one of our customers love working with us, love our systems, so that we get the retainer for the long term. They don't want to go elsewhere. They love what we gave them. So the back to front approach works for all businesses, whether you're McDonald's, a dropshipper, a digital marketing agency. You make money on the front end by getting a customer in, but the real wealth and the profit is made on the back end. And that's why the smartest business owners usually build their business back to front. They start with the back end first and the front end comes afterwards. And this all comes from understanding where your vision is for your business. Where do you want to take it? How do you build it to sustainably get you there? And then you build out the operations for the entire business. And at the same time, you're kind of also putting it out to the universe that you're so confident that you're going to build the back end first and the front end will fill itself. You've built the beautiful system. You've built a business that works. Why would people not want to buy? Empty spaces always get filled. That's the law of the earth. So if you build a business sustainably, usually your customers will come because the space will get filled. You are doing better than your competitors. So look, let's summarize. High level people, instead of chasing short-term profit and jumping from one thing to another, they focus on long-term goals and build back to front as a result. Look, if you've been listening to this and you want help applying it in your own business, building systems, delegations, automations, and actually scaling without burning out, then just DM me on Instagram. I'll put the link inside my bio. Just let me know that you watched this video and we can have a chat about anything you want, or specifically the back to front mindset and putting it into practice for your business. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and please like and subscribe if you want more videos like this.